Agem 1, seen here manoeuvring within Port Ramsgate, is a small but powerful sea or riverbed agitation emulsion dredger. It is highly manoeuvrable, being able to nudge itself into tight positions next to berths and jetties. With the use of the extendable arm of the forward-mounted crane, it can also reach under open piers and berths in order to excavate accumulated muds and silts. However, it was conceived principally in response to the increasingly insistent demands these days for an environmentally friendly dredging system, which was both efficient and relatively inexpensive. The dredger operates by suction dredging the harbour, river or seabed, and by pumping this partially compacted and dewatered material through a series of especially designed, patented agitators. These break down the material towards its original constituent particle size. At the same time, it emulsifies this silt water mixture with a volume of air under pressure. This mixture is then ejected above water level and over a wide area through two stern-mounted diffusers and into the thrust of the dredger's propellers. The result is a low concentration of relatively fine material in the highly aerated and turbulent surface water behind the dredger. Also, the dredger lies as closely parallel to the stream of the outgoing tide as is reasonably feasible. This whole process results in the dispersing spoil travelling long distances within the moving, turbulent and de-aerating water column before any appreciable quantity of it settles to the sea or riverbed. Care is taken not to concentrate the solids within the dispersing spoil so that a heavy, dense mixture is produced which would rapidly sink to the bottom. Only siltwater concentrations up to 20% are required. The idea for Agem 1 stemmed from the need to achieve effective, environmentally sound dredging in an area where siltation was proving to be both rapid and continuous. Local fishing, recreational and shipping interests necessitated that the dredging spoil be dispersed both sparsely and naturally. This area was at Port Ramsgate, on the east coast of the county of Kent in England, where approximately 90,000 cubic metres of spoil needs to be disposed of each year. The original harbour, the Royal Harbour, was built during the period 1750 to 1790 as a place of refuge and trade by John Smeaton, the builder of the first permanent Eddystone lighthouse. He was soon forced to build a sluicing system, the inner harbour, which by releasing its contained water at low tide, scoured away the silt that constantly threatened to fill the Royal Harbour. This was successful for some years before undermining of the harbour piers by the scouring action caused this to be stopped. Port Ramsgate, a modern, constantly developing ro-ro port, was built during the period 1979 to 1990 as an extension to the Royal Harbour. It consists of 9-metre armoured breakwaters constructed of Swedish granite. Siltation is a problem here because two nearshore sand silt circulation pathways coalesce. The first and most important involves material moving out from Pegwell Bay, a large sand and silt-filled embayment to the south. This is particularly the case when strong southwesterly winds assist the northeasterly directed ebb tides. The other, the subordinate cell, is an inshore silt transport pathway moving material, again under wind-assisted conditions, towards the port from the north. Fine material, therefore, from both directions settles within Port Ramsgate, particularly during neap tides and slack tide. Any dredging system used in this area must comply with the various environmental factors that are widely considered to be important here. For instance, fishing interests for the sea area adjacent to the port are very vigorously maintained. These include trawling, drift and set netting, lobster and crab potting, as well as the activities of many sea angling groups. In addition, the local council, Thanet District Council, who control the Royal Harbour and the main recreational beaches in the area, require that no release spoil enters the Royal Harbour or drifts onto the nearby beaches. Finally, the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries also required that the agitation dredging operations complied fully with all of these environmental considerations before issuing a licence allowing Agem dredging to commence on a permanent basis. In order to meet these stringent requirements, considerable testing was carried out at Port Ramsgate. These tests were designed to ascertain the grain size of the material to be moved, the current velocities and directions that would move it, and the state of tide when appropriate hydraulic conditions applied. Also, the environmental constraints previously mentioned were added to the equation. The result was that all conditions were met during those tides when tidal rise and fall exceeded 4 meters and during the period 1 to 3.5 hours after high water. This unusually tight set of conditions are, however, sufficient to allow time and cost-effective agitation dredging to be carried out at Port Ramsgate during the year. The material is expelled from the harbour entrance and into the natural silt-carrying, offshore-directed, rapidly flowing current that runs in the area. At any other locality, once the type of material to be dredged and the prevailing current velocities and directions are ascertained, then the agitation dredging window for that area can soon be determined. In many places, it is likely to be considerably longer than the window which was found to be appropriate for Port Ramsgate. The Agem dredger consists of a pontoon barge with a moulded length of 20 metres, breadth of 10 metres and draft of 2.5 metres. At the bow is mounted a 972 Liebherr crane, to which is mounted a Toyo submersible solids pump, capable of handling up to 720 tonnes per hour of a sand-water mixture. Power is provided by 2 generators, each providing 200 kVA. The material is pumped across the deck via a flexible pipeline to a series of 4 patented contra-rotating agitators. Here, air under pressure is added and the whole mixture expelled through 2 diffusers. It falls into the turbulent thrusts from the 2 main engines and then moves in the current towards the harbour entrance. Agem 1 can also be used for many other port maintenance tasks. For instance, it has been recently employed on a coastal pipeline construction project in southwest England. Here, it provided the contractor with a floating platform for trench drilling and blasting operations. The Liebherr crane, fitted with a rock grab, was then used for grabbing out and side casting. It then assisted with laying bedding sand and with the lowering of the pipe into the trench. Finally, it assisted with covering the installed pipe with side-casted rock and ballast. Agem 1 is therefore a highly manoeuvrable dredging system that can also be used, when suitably adapted, for a whole variety of berth and port maintenance tasks.